All right, Quasar Markets Live. Peter Thomas. Everybody has been out there, been asking me about silver and gold, precious metals, and there's nobody than Mr. Metals but Peter Thomas. All right, Peter. We went from 19 bucks an ounce on silver to 121 in what I would consider a historic run. History. I think you laugh because I think you know what I'm talking about. But I was short. I've been short for a while now up here. And what are we looking at right now?
Well, we're looking at but let's look at gold and let's look at the numbers just to see and the magnitude of this historic move. The last calculation I saw was this shift from the high to the low of this break for the last 24 hours is $5.5 trillion. That's a big move in a metals market. And it's exciting. I mean, it's just really exciting. And the correction that we have been talking about and we knew would come in at some point is here. And the real dynamic, Steve, that we need to cover is what's changed. What has changed that took this market from those lows to this high? Have we had any consumption shift? Have we had anything else? No. The only thing we had was a major political event, and we can cover that in a minute.
And live, while I did this, I just covered my silver short here, Peter. I did it live here on the show. I think you're right. There's still a narrative out there. I was just asked my thought process about what's missing in the markets, and I said clearly that I think common sense is missing, Pete. I mean, it's this FOMO, this craziness that hits the market. We know that there's a supply issue. We know there's a demand issue.
Sure.
But to go this fast, this far, parabolically, it didn't make any sense to me.
Well, that's what moves are. I mean, this is remember, there's a lot of psychological issues involved. I don't want to miss the train. I got to get in. You know, what's it trading at? You know, and where they just don't care. They want in, and they don't want to miss the move. And a lot of millionaires were made in this move, Steve. Not even a question.
Yeah, you talk about it from the perspective of trillions of dollars being moved around, not millions.
Yes, absolutely.
But silver turned into a meme stock, it felt like.
Well, it did, but the thing was, what happened was, I mean, look at yesterday. You when we chatted, I said to you, "Hey, our major suppliers at AU Secure contacted us and said we're 4 weeks out for shipping on American Eagles," and I was
so explain that to people when you say we're 4 weeks out. Does that mean if I go to your company, AU Secure, which you can, by the way, if you want to, please go to ausecure.com. You can actually see Pete, by the way. You can actually click on him. But when they call you and they say, "Okay, I want to buy a monster box of silver," you tell me there's a month wait, 4 weeks wait?
Absolutely, not even a question. Now, it occurred. All right. Not only demand, which has been monstrous, but the weather. You know, the insurance companies are notified. You know, we're Brinks and Loomis guys, and you know, they said, "Hey, we are not going to insure you if you want to take an armored car full of gold and silver out into 4 feet of snow on the road. We're not going to insure you." So they said, "No way, we're not running out there." So we had big delays in shipping. So let's predicate that. So, you know, it isn't a panic buying, but there's a lag.
Yeah, and you hear from Steve Flanagan this morning talking about the dollar. The Dixie was slipping a bit there over the last few weeks. That does affect the price of gold and silver, and now the dollar is pushing back up. I think we just hit $97 the Dixie here.
Right.
And you look at it from that perspective, that's also putting pressure on gold and silver, on commodities. And you also see a new Fed chair coming with Marin, right? That could be an issue.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I will tell you that you know, Kevin Walsh, you know, was really, you know, he's a hawk. Everybody was shocked, right? And a lot of people in the gold community by itself were very bearish on him. So we were kind of shocked.
Yeah, and you see the last vote was 10-2. Is it going to be now 9-3? I mean, what seems to be that's not going to change much, right?
I mean, look at I can't, I don't know him. All right, so
Okay.
I'm you know I don't want I want to let's temper this with some common sense, which is always rare on these shows. You know?
That's what we do, right? We're bringing the
Yeah.
common sense to it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Let's give the man the benefit of the doubt. The president picked him for a reason. I'm not coaching of that. So let's see what pans out. Okay.
Okay, let's talk about it from the perspective. You and I talked about it last night. Look, when you have this much demand and the supply, as you said last night, hasn't changed because we don't have a new mine on board.
Right.
You think countries like Peru and Brazil and Mexico, major producers of silver, Colombia, do you think that they'll be upping their game? Do you think U.S. companies are going to go down there and helping them dig that stuff out of the ground?
There's mining is very complex, and mining is there's no way you can increase it. You can only bring so much ore out on. Remember, those big conveyor belts, those trucks, they are limited in what they produce. So can you buy more trucks? Yeah, but can you speed up the ore coming out of the ground? No, you can't. There's only so much you can blast. There's only so much you can move. So bottom line is that we're not going to be able to increase. We're seeing a lot of positive results on core samples for drilling, but it takes a couple of years, 3-4 years. It's you don't flip the switch and speed it up. So as demand has not changed, we're going to see support come in. And the bottom line is going to be this. Our CEOs everywhere, China, around the world, going to look and go, hey, $90 silver. Okay, I'm in. Deliver it, you know? And if that occurs, then we're going to see this $100 plateau come back and this $5,000 plateau hold in gold. We have to, this is Friday. Let's see how we go into the weekend. Also, by the way, there's this little thing called Iran that's floating around. And let's not forget about the fact that there's 26 submarines that they have close to the Straits of Hormuz. And
7 destroyers. We got 3 aircraft destroyers.
No, I'm talking about the Iranians have 26 subs.
Are you worried about that? Are you worried about war breaking out there?
I'm always worried about war breaking out, and when you have people flexing muscles, things happen, and I hope it doesn't. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and we're seeing a little bounce here now. The 94.65 now on silver. Where are you comfortable? Where are people calling you that they are comfortable at buying silver? They're not. They weren't comfortable at 121, were they?
Well, they were comfortable at 110. Very comfortable. They were getting comfortable at 100. So I think the 90s are attractive to people such as Samsung, Tesla. People that are consumers. I think they're going to come in and buy silver wires, and as you and I have discussed for our viewers, solder. The silver solder that's used on keyboards for production and things like that. I think we're going to see them coming in here and maybe accumulating stuff in the further out stuff, Steve, like buying for delivery in June and things like that.
Futures contracts coming through. You worried about futures contracts getting outsized like contango?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And so
what I mean by that, for those of you who are not out there, don't understand what Pete and I are talking about. The future contracts in the future, obviously, when major companies that he was saying, Samsung, are looking to buy silver in the future because they need it for a certain project, they'll buy futures contracts and to make delivery on that certain month. So in his case, Pete was saying June or July, and they'll buy those contracts and they'll buy them now and make a little bit of money off of it, right? They buy them at 94 and
absolutely
right. So and if it goes to 110, then they can take delivery of it, or they can say, oh, you know what, sell it. We made a bunch of money and we'll buy something else.
Well, what they'll do is if it's higher at that given time, Steve, they'll say, okay, we made 30, 40, 50 million dollars on this position, and they'll just buy silver with it because they're going to use it. That's the bottom line. So a lot of times,
will they buy spot at that point, or will they just buy another future contract off of that?
Well, you have to remember it depends on where the delivery is. So If you're in South Korea, you're going to make arrangements because shipping's expensive. So you're going to buy from who's the closest. And if taking delivery is a better option, but then you weigh that out. It's a mathematical, assumption. It's not complicated. But
I love it.
We had, just as a side note, remember everybody panicked when the CME went down. The LME went down again last night for an hour. So they were overwhelmed by the amount of trading. And so we're seeing a lot of stuff, exchange crashes, market breaks, consumer pricing. Oh my God, people were in a panic over that as well. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff hitting these metals markets, and finally we got the break.
I love it. All right, Peter Thomas, I appreciate your time. You nailed it pretty much. You said 107 was a pivot. We broke through that. The other day it bounced off of that. That was a pivot. So you nailed it. So it pays to watch Quasar Markets Live. It pays to listen to Peter Thomas.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's always a pleasure to be here for the Friday wrap up for everyone. And I'm not bearish yet. I mean, this is just a little shakeout, and let's see what happens.
And we just hit another low here in the day on silver, 93, and we are now below 549.96 now on gold. So it's slipping a little bit here. So under the 5,000 handle. All right, Pete, we'll see you right back here next week, my man. Go find Peter, GoldBug111. They're on Twitter. Click on the button, GoldBug111. All right, see you next week, Pete.
All right, buddy. Talk to you.